Guys, I'm here with Matt Lyda. I'm very excited about this interview, guys. I'm gonna kind of introduce him a little bit. So, Matt Lyda, you guys probably know his face. You might even know his name by now. If you're in the wrestling community, he is the co-host of.
Let's rock! Fetch me this.
So the technically it's called 6 Feet Under with Mark Calaway.
All right, guys, this is kind of what you've been waiting for. This is when we dive all into Matt meeting The Undertaker, Mark Calaway, and how they formed a friendship, all the things that Matt has learned about Mark Calaway, aka The Undertaker, and how that eventually led up to their podcast. Super interesting stuff. He tells a lot of stories about The Undertaker or Mark Calaway, hanging out with him, what it's like to be around the fans, what it's like to be around a celebrity that big. And again, all the common interests, hunting trips they've gone on together. You get to learn a lot, and I'm very excited for you guys to see it, as I was fascinated. It's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. So here you go. I know this is what you guys have been wanting to see, and this is part 2. This is the last one, so enjoy it. Thanks for being here, guys.
I said, I got an event I got to go to. He said, all right. So I told him, I said, hey man, this is where I'm going to be staying, all this stuff. He said, all right, I'm going to take you. He said, we'll go to lunch. And he came by and picked me up. He texted me, said, I'll be the one in the dirty black F-250. And I got in his truck, and his truck is just full of crap. He just got done with the gym.
Wait. I'm sorry. So Taker calls you as Mark Calaway, obviously. I mean, like, we need to distinguish that Undertaker's a character he plays on TV, guys. So, like,
Yes.
this is Mark Calaway. And does he know yet that you know who he is, or
Comes to pick me up to go to lunch. All we've done is talk on the phone. He's Mark Calaway. I'm Matt Lyda. He comes and picks me up. We go to a barbecue restaurant. And dude, he drives. Like, I get so scared riding in a car with him. He's, he's driving this big old truck. And we're just sitting there talking. He's got double vision. Like, he's both orbital bones broken. So, like,
yeah, I knew that happened. I
so
saw that.
now I'm like,
But now wait, but are you starstruck at all? I know you're keeping it cool professionally.
yeah, I would say,
Are you like, I'm fucking in Undertaker struggle with him? How? I mean, this is like a movie script where you're describing right here. Like,
yeah, it really was like, he pulls up
surreal.
out front. He pulls out front of this, I don't know, Holiday Inn I'm staying at that's out by the airport. Like, it's, um, you know, and here he comes pulling up, and I'm in the truck with him, and I'm going down the road in the truck with, he's the biggest celebrity at that time that I've ever been in a car with, much less going to lunch with.
Oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Undertaker, he's an A-lister. In my opinion,
Yes, yes,
because I mean, he's one. I think he's one of the biggest wrestlers of all time, right up there with Hogan and
yeah,
Flair.
yeah. He's a Mount Rushmore guy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
However you want to cut it, he's on the
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore. So, we're just in the truck and we're talking once again just about you know shooting guns and hunting and just normal stuff. Like, that's what we're talking about. And the funny thing is when you do something for 30 years, if you're around me long enough, I'm going to tell you stories about my job because that's what I do every day,
Yeah.
right?
I get you. Yeah.
So he's just casually talking about, yeah, oh yeah, man, me and such and such be on the road, and
So
we would,
he already thought you knew who he was.
yeah, and I mean he knows that I know that he's the Undertaker,
Right, right.
and we both know that, I know that we've talked now a few times on the phone and stuff, and one of the things was, so I knew that he was the Undertaker, and he knew that I knew he was the Undertaker because at the beginning of the first time that I talked to him on that Hooters conversation, he goes, I said, hey man, I looked you up online. You also potentially go by another name. I said, are you who I think you are? And he goes, if you think I'm the Undertaker, you're right. I'm what's left of him. And I was like, okay.
That's such a like that's just a cool fucking line.
Yeah.
Everything
He goes,
about it is so fucking cool.
I'm what's left of him. I said, okay, cool, man. And then we talked about hunting, fishing, and stuff. So I go to Austin, picks me up. We go to a
Now,
barbecue.
now let me stop you. When he originally told you like, oh, if you're ever in Austin, you were like, I'm gonna be there. Were you thinking like, this dude's not like, he's not gonna answer the phone when I'm there. He's not gonna. Did you have that doubt?
No, because at this moment, over those couple of weeks, we had like text back and forth. He gave me the number to text him.
Okay,
So he apparently, maybe he was calling, maybe the number he gave me was like a house phone or something. It was every time he would call me, it would come up as like no caller ID or something like that, right? So he gave me a different number. He said, I'm going to text you, and this is the number you need to save. And I was like,
I got
okay.
you.
So that number, I could text him right now, and that's the number that
Gotcha.
he
Yeah, I got
gives
you.
out.
So you had already kind of developed a
Yeah,
relationship. Yeah.
yeah, we had been texting about what different stuff and everything, and because my main question to him was, what do you want to do when you retire? And he goes, I just want to go hunting. I want to go hunting. I was like, okay, have all the relationships to go hunting with all the big camo manufacturers, gun manufacturers, all that stuff. I said, I can arrange some really nice hunts for you. And he goes, that'd be awesome. So like that's what we're texting about.
Gotcha.
And so in Austin, we go to lunch. And this is when I knew what kind of person I was hanging around. Um,
You mean celebrity status wise, or just?
no, just what kind of character
I gotcha.
he
Okay.
had. We get there, where we go, the line is, if anybody's eating barbecue in Austin, no matter what restaurant you go to, the line is down the street, right? So we go up to this restaurant. The line is fairly long, longer than what I want to stand in, and I'm not a celebrity. So he looks at me and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back." I said, "Okay." So he comes back, and we're standing there for probably about 5 minutes. And I was just like, man, you got any pull here? I was like, I was like, do you have any pull do you have any pull on getting us to the front of
Yeah.
the line? And
Yeah.
I said, do you have any pull? And he goes, yeah, I know the owner. And I was like, well, why are we standing in this line? He goes, yeah, I don't do that. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And then there's a kid in front of us, that just a little kid, and he's looking back. And I mean, I don't care if you're a celebrity or not. When you're 6'8", covered in
Yeah.
tattoos,
Seriously, he can't blend. Yeah.
yeah, people are going to look at you no matter who you are. You're a biker, criminal, or a wrestler. So, or all three. And
Yeah.
so this little kid's looking up. Mom turns around and she's like, "Are you who I think you are?" And once again, I'm what's left of him. And she's like, "Awesome. Can my son have a picture?" And that's was the worst thing that we ever did. So that turned into 700 pictures.
Oh yeah.
We get up, we get our
Yeah.
food. The owner comes out. Mark, why didn't you tell me, that you were here or whatever? He goes, oh, I don't want to do that. We get our food. Um, we go out to the table, and he just looked down at me, and he goes, don't leave me. I said, okay. And we walked into that crowd, and everyone's standing there waiting to meet him.
Oh my
So
God.
they ended up bringing some staff out to get us over to our table. We sit down. The staff kind of had to stand there while we ate. And while we were sitting there eating, multiple little kids were like coming out looking, and Mark would call them over, and
Oh
he
man.
would sign stuff for them, whatever, give it to them. And I was like, man, I said, that's really cool that you do that. And he goes, yeah. He said, I'll do it for kids. He said, but grown man comes up to me while I'm eating barbecue and tries to take a picture.
Yeah. But no, it's
And
really nice to hear that because you said it, man. I'm gonna go back to it. And you should be afraid sometimes to meet your heroes, bro, because I've
yeah,
been very disappointed. So when you see one that is right, and is really generous and humble, it's really refreshing. I'm so glad to hear that about him. You
He
know.
came to so he came to Nine Line one time, and we're out just shooting some guns and stuff. And our HR director, she was in the military, and her husband was in special operations. And they have a son. His name's Rocco, Little Rocco, and her husband's Big Rocco. So they came out. Little Rocco wanted to meet the Undertaker. Comes out, meets him, takes pictures, all this stuff. Good time. Dude, it was about a year later. Taker comes out to our charity event. And so he comes out to our charity event. He's had a couple of drinks, him and Godfather. And he walks right over to that table and goes right up to Nisha and Big Rocco. And he said, "Hey, how y'all doing?" They didn't go to him. He went to them. They're like, "Oh, we're good. We're good, Mark. How are you?" And he goes, "I'm great." He goes, "How's little Rocco doing?"
Damn.
Now, this is over a year later.
Yeah.
And
I
spent
can't
5 minutes.
remember people's names from yesterday. Yeah, like
Exactly.
right, yeah.
And they came up to me and they were like, "Man, that speaks volumes about him." And it really does. He's the nicest guy in the world, gives his shirt off his back. He just wants to be left alone 99% of the time.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where our relationship kind of started, was that. And once I realized he wanted to go just on hunting trips and do that, I was like, "Hey, man, you tell me
How
what."
cool is it getting to hunt with the Undertaker? I love hunting myself, so I mean, is he a good hunter?
Oh yeah, he is. He's a good shot. We went
Now,
on
are
a
y'all doing bows or guns or both?
guns, and he bow hunts elk.
Okay.
So we went on a turkey hunt with Realtree. So Realtree's headquarters in Georgia,
Oh
and
man.
yeah, and I know the owner of Realtree really well, and his son
Jesus.
is a really good friend of mine, Tyler Jordan. And Tyler's like, "Hey man, we really want Taker to come out to the Realtree Farms and go on a turkey hunt." So I told him, I said, "All right," I said, "but you got to." I said, "The problem is," I said, "you got to have me and my brother there." I was like, "We're
Yeah,
tag alongs." And he goes,
yeah,
"Okay."
yeah.
So we came out. We're all turkey hunting. Taker gets 2 turkeys. Me and my brother got 0. We did. The turkeys dried up. He killed 2 in the first 2 days, and then they dried up after that. But dude, he loves being outside. He loves doing that stuff. And then, um, man, we've pheasant hunted. Me, him, and Uncle Si from Duck Dynasty went on a pheasant hunt.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a fucking story right there, bro.
yeah, that was a good time. We took a bunch of veterans up to South Dakota, and had probably about 40 veterans, and had Undertaker and Uncle Si there, and they did it. They came on their own accord. We paid for their airfare. That was it. It was like, "Hey, this is for the veterans. Whatever they need, whatever they want, we got them taken care of."
That's really
So
cool y'all do that, man.
yeah, so that was really nice. And Taker, he volunteers his time for that stuff. So yeah, I mean, our relationship started over barbecue, then it went into just us going hunting, and we've been to some wild, crazy places, man, hunting in the like backwoods of Nebraska.
Have you guys
Like,
ever gone
it was
bear hunting? That's the thing that's on my list. I've never gotten to go, but I really want to go bear hunt.
we went black bear hunting, and he got a black bear.
Damn. Yeah, I
Was it
bet that's fun, man.
It was beginning of this year. It was in January, I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was in January. Got a black bear in Virginia, on the property of the old NASCAR driver Ward Burton, and his son Jeb is a NASCAR driver currently. And they have about 3,500 acres in Virginia. And I've been friends with those guys for about 5 years. And I go deer hunting up there every year. They were like, "Man, you got to do a bear. Let's get a bear. Let's get a bear. Let's get a bear." So Taker came up. They got a beautiful place, and we were up there for about 3 days, and was able to get a beautiful bear that helped fill my deep freezer, and been able to feed myself.
So let me ask you, I've never actually eaten bear. What is the difference in like bear and venison?
So I think bear's a little sweeter. Um, I
Okay.
love it. I make burgers all the time, spaghetti, meatloaf, everything with it. I got sausage, and I got
And
like ground hamburger.
it's important to point out for anybody watching that's again hunting that Taker and you both, you eat you guys are killing your own food. So it's not just you're out there killing animals for fun. Let's be clear about that.
We
Like,
do one of two things. We either harvest the animal for our own
or you donate.
consumption, or we donate it
Yeah.
to a
That's me too. Yeah.
Yep, we donate it to a local like food bank that will and usually if you donate it to a local food bank, the taxidermist will either do it for free or cut you a really big deal, and then all the meat gets donated to for homeless people and people, just impoverished people.
Yeah.
So it's, once again, if you don't want to hunt, if you don't want to kill an animal, totally your deal.
Totally respect it. Yeah.
Totally respect it, man.
But we're
That's what you
Southern
want.
guys, and that's what we grow up doing.
Yeah,
Like,
I enjoy doing it. So, but we love bird hunting. That's one of the biggest things. We love sandhill crane.
what is your go-to hunting rifle, and what is Taker's?
Um,
Well, I guess it would be like if you're shooting bear, you're probably shooting at least like a 45-70 or larger, 300 Win Mag. Well, like what caliber are you using?
yeah, 308. I think he killed that one with the 308. He killed it with a Daniel Defense. I think maybe a V. I don't know which.
Like an
It was,
AR platform, like
yeah, it
AR.
was an AR platform. Yep.
Okay.
So I would imagine. I don't know what he carries. So we hunt a lot with Realtree, and whoever Realtree is sponsored by is
Yeah.
the rifle that we have in our hands.
Gotcha.
I'm a huge bird fan, so I love shotguns. And so like for me,
Like over and unders. Like let's talk about guns for a minute.
I'm a I'm more of a semi-automatic
Okay.
shotgun guy. So
Benelli, Beretta. Like what do you like?
dude, I've got a freaking Winchester, $900 Winchester that's sitting in my closet right now that I have killed more ducks and more sandhill crane with that I can shake a stick at. And
Well,
I've got,
to be clear, like I have cheap and expensive guns in my
yeah,
collection. Bro, we could talk, I'm sure, 10 hours about guns, bro. I mean, the day I turned 18, I went and bought two AK-47s. The day I turned 21, I bought a HKP7 that I still have to this day. Because the bad guy in Die Hard used it, and it's a real weird gun that a lot of people don't even know, the squeeze cocking gun, you know?
yeah.
What was the first gun you ever bought? Or maybe did your dad give you one? I mean, like what
I bought, around the house, we just had a bunch of shotguns and, just, whatever rifle.
country guns, yeah, 30
I don't know if they
levers.
were, I don't know if any of them were actually registered in anyone's name.
Yeah. They're probably family heirlooms that just
Yeah, it was just like that. It
family.
was just that was the gun that was sitting at the house. That's what you grabbed on your way out to go
Yeah.
bird hunting. So,
But
um,
personally, like let's say forget long guns because that might be really hard for you. But the first handgun you ever went and purchased, do you remember what that was?
so I bought a Smith and Wesson. Uh, I bought a Smith and Wesson 45, no 40, Smith and Wesson 40
The one that they
pistol.
got sued over for being too close to a Glock.
Yeah. So
My
I've
first
got
gun,
that.
that and a 9 mil, that same gun.
I got that gun sitting in my nightstand right now.
I sold that gun to my best friend, and he still has it. It's a
Really,
stainless slide with a black frame, and
yeah,
it's a good gun. You
good
know,
gun, good gun. Pistol wise, I'm better off throwing the pistol at you than actually shooting. I am
you got automatic or revolver guy.
either one. I'm indifferent because I'm so bad with a pistol. It doesn't matter when it comes to accuracy. I am horrible with a pistol. I think it is so amazing to watch people that are actually good shooting a
Yeah,
pistol, watching them shoot a pistol. I'm terrible with them. And so that's where for me shotguns are great because I don't have to be accurate.
right. Yeah,
I can just be in the vicinity and be in good shape. And so for me, like I don't get a lot of thrill out of going to the gun range and shooting a steel target.
I don't
But
either.
I
Yeah,
love shooting skeet.
yeah.
We got a clay thrower at work, throws the clays, and I go out there and shoot. It's a mech. It's called a mech machine. The actual company's mech, and this thing will shoot clays all different ways, and it's just a challenge to me. But I tell you what, man, durability wise, you're in a duck blind, you're out in the field shooting those sandhill cranes, and you're in a coffin blind, or you're covered in tumbleweeds or whatever. Those Benellis and those Rattays, man, you can dump them things in mud and dirt and everything else, and they just keep firing. They keep shooting, and that's kind of what you need in those situations.
Right.
I also think this, when it comes to firearms, man, you can spend $50, you can spend $50,000 on a gun that can accomplish the same thing. It's whatever you're comfortable with and whatever
Right.
you like shooting, right?
Yep.
I like I like I was saying, I like shooting clays, and I'll go out there with an over under. Shooting clays, I'll go out there with a semi, I'll go out there with a pump and mess around with all of them. But at the end of the day, I really like shooting a Rattay or my old Winchester. And that old Winchester, I clean it about every couple of years. It gets the job done. I'm the worst at maintaining firearms. And
Yeah.
then when it comes to just like crazy stuff, um, you know, we have an arms room, and we got some fun stuff. I mean, I got a 50 cal. I got a Barrett 50 cal.
Now you mean you or nine line as arm?
Everything's in my name.
Okay, I got you. So you
But
consider
I'll leave it
yourself
at the arms room. I'll leave it at the arms room at the company. And we
every
got a
time.
Tommy gun. I got a Tommy gun. I got the 50 cal Desert Eagle. That's a fun gun to
Oh
shoot.
yeah.
Funny story about that gun. Billy Gunn, badass Billy Gunn.
I met him. Yeah, he watches the show I'm on. Actually, yeah, him and his wife both.
So yeah, Paula, his wife,
Yeah.
she's a sweetheart. So we're shooting the 50 cal, the Desert Eagle 50 cal, not the rifle. And this sucker, man, the shell cases are coming back and popping him in the forehead, and that forehead is been just beat up so much that just a little bit will make him bleed at this point. And
Oh
the shell
shit.
casings, he's got blood just going down his forehead from the shell casings.
The very first YouTube channel I ever started was a gun content one, and I would do these crazy videos to try to get views. And I had a older Ferrari at the time. It was like a 360, not a super expensive car, but it was convertible. And my friend had a really nice outdoor gun range in a town I don't know if you've ever heard of called Kings Mountain. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, so I would go out there, and he was sponsored because he had a real big YouTube channel, and I would do videos of like dual wielding Smith and Wesson 500s or dual wielding because I'm a real skinny guy, and so I got to shoot a lot of really large caliber stuff during that time. And I'll be honest with you, it made me fall in love with the really big stuff. Like my personal carry now is a 10 mil.
jeez.
And a lot of people are like, why? And I don't know, I just like it. Like, it's overkill. But
But
I
it's what you're comfortable with. If that's what
right,
you're
yeah.
good.
I want to lead up to how the podcast got started.
Yeah.
We were kind of like you were at that restaurant and like people were swarming, and then you start developing this relationship with them and then go from there.
So that's where it was like, okay, he wants to go hunting and all this stuff. So we were on these hunting trips. And we would be around a bunch of veterans. And usually after about the first couple of hours, like, okay, the guys have, you know, taken some pictures and whatnot with him, right? And it's turned into now, okay, we've had dinner, we're sitting around a lodge, you know, some beers, some Jack Daniels, whatnot. And Taker's telling stories. He's telling stories about being on the road. He's telling stories in the ring, whatever.
Now, does he like talking about wrestling all the time? Or is
He,
it
he did. I mean, and he tells typically stories about being on the road. Like it's
okay?
just the fun stuff. You know what I mean? I don't sit here and want to talk to people about PowerPoints that I have to build. Nobody wants to hear
Yeah,
that. They want to
I
hear about
understand.
the
Yeah.
backstage stuff, right? So, he's telling the fun stuff, right? And they're funny. I mean, the stories are great. And man, we're 2 years into just hanging out, you know, 6, 7, 8 times a year. And I would be in Austin, going through Austin for work or whatever. I'd go to his house, have dinner. I distinctly remember sitting in his living room watching, a UFC fight. And So a few years go by, I went to a rally car racing school in Austin for like 2 days to learn how to rally car drive. We were just shooting content,
Yeah.
and I get motion sickness really bad. So they were trying to get me to throw up. That was the whole thing. So we're out there just acting like a bunch of fools. And Taker, of course, lives there. So I went to dinner. And, we're at dinner. And I looked at him and I went, "Do you know how much your stories are worth?" And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "The stories you tell." I said, "At dinner, hunting trips, all that stuff." I said, "Man, there's a business." I said, "There's like, you can actually make money telling those stories." And he was like,
Now this is
"Well,
after he's retired.
yep, he's
Okay.
retired. He's done everything. Is this pre Hall? This is, nope. This is post Hall of Fame speech.
But so he's
So
doing the One Dead Man show.
no, so
No,
2022 is when I presented this to him. So 2022, he gets put in the Hall of Fame that April, and this was in June, end of June, beginning of July. And I was like, "Hey, man, you know that you could like do like a YouTube channel or a Patreon channel and just tell these stories." And I was like, "We could have a single camera just on you telling the stories." He literally looked at me and he goes, "Ah, people would just fall asleep listening to those old stories," and
yeah.
ordered another Coors Light and never mentioned it again. And I was like, "Okay." Um, so about a year, exactly a year goes by, and this at this point, it's been in the back of my mind. And I've asked people, "Would you pay $5 a month to hear
Right.
these stories? Would you subscribe to this? Would you listen to this?" And everyone's like, "Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
love to hear these stories." And I was like, "Okay." So for a year, it's just been kind of in my mind and not mentioning it to him again, but it's just been like stirring up. And I just sit down and I put together like a business plan. And I went to him and I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to Mexico for a wedding. Um, I'm going to go there via Austin. I need to go to Austin to have another meeting anyway. I want to come by your house and let's have dinner." He goes, "Okay." Never told him what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So, so he has no idea what I'm going to do. I show up and I'm like, "Hey, do you remember when I talked to you about doing this thing?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Man, I put together a kind of a presentation. I want you to run through it, see what you think." So he goes through it. He looks at it and he goes, "You really think that we can do this?" I said, "Yeah." And Michelle's standing there. Michelle goes, "I think you should do this, Mark." He goes, "All right." He said, "Let's try it." He said, "It's worth a shot." Um, it was probably about a month later, went out, we filmed the first thing where he was sitting there just talking about his first ever match at Survivor Series. And it was terrible. It was awful. He hated it. I hated it. I was like, "This ain't it, bro. This is not what I envisioned. I know it's not what you envisioned." So next day we filmed some more stuff. He calls me a week or so later and he goes, "Dude, I just don't think this is it." I was like, "I don't think so either, man." And I said, "Let me do some thinking. I'm gonna try to put something else together." He goes, "Okay." So we talked, and I said,
Now,
"Hey,
now wait. So honestly, though, like in your mind, were you thinking like we need to do a podcast and I need to be because I know him, but you didn't want to ask him because you felt like it was too
not at all. This was
okay.
not. This was that was not because I suck as a podcast host, and I knew that before I ever started a podcast. So I was like, "This is like I don't need to be on there. It needs to be." So a motivating factor was I talked to him about that in 2022. Then Maven started doing videos maybe end of 2022, beginning of 2023, somewhere in there. I'm not
David shit is
sure.
great, yeah.
And it's great.
He's great, yeah.
He's by himself. He's talking about matches. He's talking about stuff. And I'm like, this is exactly what Mark can do. So that was my vision, was let's do it similar to what Maven's doing, where it's just Mark sitting there talking. And so a couple weeks go by. I said, hey, man, I've got an idea. I'm going to come out. I was like, let's film something different. That was a complete lie. I didn't have a different idea. I just knew that I needed to get there. And I knew if I could get there in front of him, we'll figure this out. I knew that we could figure it out. I knew that we could. You know, I'm a big believer in planning, but sometimes, you know, you've got to be ready, fire, then aim. And this was a ready, fire, aim situation. I was not aiming before I fired. And so I get out to I'm on the plane in the air, and I'm in the air, and I don't have a script. I don't have anything written, a plan for us to film.
Right.
And I'm like watching a movie, and stuff started coming to me. And I was like, oh, this is it. I turned the movie off, and I just started like typing on my notes. And I typed out 9 episodes in an hour. Like 9 ideas. And then I went back to those ideas, and I just started doing bullet points under them. So I get there, and we go to his gym to set everything up. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, I got to go to physical therapy. Once again, Mark's calendar, he's not friends with. So he goes, I have physical therapy I got to go to. I'll be back in like 45 minutes to an hour. You guys go get lunch. I said, okay. So he walks out, and he turned around and he looked at me and he goes, and by the way, when I get back, you're going to be on the show, and we're going to set this up like a podcast.
Damn.
And I went, huh?
So you had written out another show just like Maven's, like just Undertaker talking, and again, you hadn't tried to put yourself in the show at all.
No.
So
because I didn't want that. I didn't feel like Taker needed someone else sitting there.
Well, let me say something though. So I think that was a really smart move, number one, and here's why. I never saw what you're talking about that was horrible, but what I imagine is that when you're having a conversation with a friend that you're comfortable with, you're just rolling. But when that camera is on and somebody's just like, hey, talk about this, it doesn't come off as authentic.
And I think it makes sense because, you know, in the comments, you'll have people that are like, who is this guy?
Well, we're going to talk about that next. Yeah.
This is the worst co-host. Undertaker picked the wrong guy, whatever, right? Conrad Thompson doesn't work in that seat. Not that Conrad Thompson is amazing. Chris Van Fleet is, you know, the GOAT of what we do. But they don't work in that seat. And the reason why they don't work in that seat is they don't know Mark Calaway.
Right.
And they know The Undertaker.
Yep.
And I know Mark Calaway. There's things that I will say that are like little sly remarks that are very inside jokes that I know about with him, right? I know Mark Calaway. That's why it works with him, because Mark Calaway. Another thing is, you know, he is happy and proud to have 6 Feet Under with Mark Calaway. He wants the people to learn more about who he is and what he enjoys.
Because he hit it for 30 years. Let me tell you one of the funniest moments of y'all's podcast for me. When you were telling him about how everybody was hating on you, and he thought it was so funny that they referred to you as Bub or whatever it was.
I started reading on the last episode that came out. There's a nice long thread of people hating me.
What? What's wrong with you?
Oh man,
what
can I read?
I have my own reasons.
Yeah,
but I'm just curious if it's the same.
No. So
what are you doing that's pissing people off?
You know what? Hold on. We've talked about this. This is going to be my next segment. Here is going to be by Wiley Eggs. I'm putting my hater shades on.
Hater shades?
Yeah. Look at these wood frames. Look at these wood frames.
Wow. You're a heat-seeking missile right now.
Oh, bro.
If you're gonna embrace it, brother, embrace it.
Yeezy 6 Sosa.
Yeezy 6 Sosa. Well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're gonna acknowledge. Okay.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay. No,
He wrote this yesterday. 121 people liked it.
121 people like this guy's comment.
44 replies.
Holy crap!
Oh man, it's
And it's long.
no. This is what he said. This other guy talks so much about himself. It's so annoying. Every conversation leads to a story about him. We're not here for you, bud. We're here for Taker. The next guy, yeah, I agree. This is the best one.
Wait, Bud, are you Bud?
Yeah.
What?
We're not here for you, bud. We're here for Taker.
Called you Bud.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. What,
Yeah,
and so-
Yeah,
It was so genuine and authentic and watching him laugh, and you couldn't have that without you being there. So like you said earlier, and I wasn't going to interrupt you, I'm terrible podcast hoster. Bro, you're not. And the reason why is because you have the relationship with him that puts him in a comfort zone, and you're able to invoke him to tell all of these stories that, again, when you just put a dude, I for 6 years, I've just been sat in a chair and had a camera put on me and it's like, go. And I do much better when, you know, I'm with my co-host, which is my ex-fiance. We know each other and you get the funniest content because we will literally start telling a story and then things will remind me of things because of her. So you play a much more vital part of that show than I think you think.
And that's where today I see it, and I appreciate, you know, I appreciate all those kind of words, and it's now now looking at the show now, it makes sense having someone sit in that seat.
right.
The
like,
Undertaker's
yeah.
retired, and he says that all the time. The Undertaker's retired. Undertaker's not coming out of retirement, and what you see is what you get. You can
I hope that's not true. I hope that, you know, as a fan, and I know that you're gonna say he is, but we're all hoping that there's still maybe one more thing. And I know he just did that thing at Mania, which
and you're going to see. I think you're going to see a little bit of that. You might see some more of that stuff, but you're not going to see the hat
a
to
full
coat anymore.
match.
You're
You
not.
know what bummed me out about that? And again, getting off subject, Taker deserved to have the type of retirement that you saw Ric Flair get.
Yeah,
And he retired during COVID, right? So
he
like,
did.
and
Empty
there was
room.
no audience. And
Yeah.
man, let me tell you, that documentary on him, and I'm a movie buff. I love film, love TV, love doc, and I love wrestling, and I love The Undertaker. It's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. I think I've watched it 4 or 5 times. And that for me, that's a lot, bro, because there's so much content out there. It's not like when we were kids and you would just rewatch the same
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the reason that it was so special was because he didn't do interviews and shit for 30, so you really didn't get to know him at all. So like watching that, it was just like it humanized him so well, you know, when you were like you felt bad for him for so many things. Like I really felt the pain of not only all the physical injury stuff, but just that mental emotion of like he just wanted to finish off on a good match, but he also didn't want to push it too long that people were like, he stinks. I mean, I totally get it as an artist, what he was going through. And I've never and never will be on any near level as him. But even on the little shit I do, like I completely understand. And it was very touching.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most, it's by far, I think, one of the, if not the best wrestling documentary of all time.
Documentary, it introduced us to Mark Calaway for the first time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it was something that, you know, we've never seen that side of him. We've never seen this person. We didn't know who this person was. And it was very interesting to watch that. And then when you go to his Hall of Fame, and
Did you get to go?
Yeah, so I was at his Hall of Fame. And
See, this is why people hate you, by the way. So like let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, because like this is one of the reasons I'm a very controversial person from TV, which I get a lot of negative fucking press, right? And I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell my little quick story because this interview is about you, but I've been on TV for almost 6 years, 230 something episodes. And when I first came out, people hated me. I mean, you couldn't find a nice comment about me. And luckily, like, it didn't bother me that bad. But the first show I was on, now to this day, it's in like 180 to 200 countries. And I mean, we were number one in the ratings all 15 weeks. In fact, 50 Cent show Power we were going up against. We were getting like a 4 in the ratings. He was at a 2 at number 2. So we were dogging every show. I mean, so it got a lot of fucking attention. And everybody hated me, and I got a lot of hate. And when I'll never forget, I had heard nothing about the Undertaker having a podcast. And again, like, I've met Conrad Thompson, like
Yeah.
I know wrestlers, and like, I went to Ric Flair's last match. I've been around the wrestling community, not nearly as much as you. Like, I don't hang out with wrestlers or anything, but and I had heard nothing about Undertaker having a podcast. So my first thought was I was kind of surprised that it wasn't a Conrad show.
Yeah.
That was my first thought. Secondly, I started watching it, and the first time I saw you, I'm being dead on. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what the fuck is this? Why? Like, Undertaker could have anybody he wanted. And I was on board with all of those haters of like, fuck Matt. Who is this Matt guy? Like, I remember one day literally trying to figure out your last name because I'm like, this guy's got to have done something that I just don't know. And I personally, let me take this time to apologize because I think I may have even left like some bad comments on one of the videos. I was right there with all the haters. I'm a real person.
Hey, that's cool.
Let me tell you. When I started thinking about it, I was like, you know why I'm hating on him so bad? Because I want to be him. I'm so fucking jealous that guy gets, because like, this is at the same time that I'm trying to design my YouTube. And I was really thinking about that. And I was like, God damn, man, like, I would love to do a fucking, I mean, The Undertaker, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's no other, I don't care what wrestling podcast you're talking about. You don't get bigger, short of Hulk Hogan doing a podcast, you don't get bigger than The Undertaker. I mean, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, and I think I verbalized it poorly. Like, Ric Flair has transcended as more of a pop icon because he's done rap videos and shit. I put Undertaker in that same category that even non-wrestling fans know who the fuck Undertaker is. You know, so he fuck bigger than life. Undertaker is a major star. You know what I mean? So I really think, and I think that anybody that watches this that leaves negative comments or says bad things about you, which it is really funny when you guys talk about that on the podcast. Let's be honest. Everybody's hating on you because you're a super nice guy. Now that I've talked to you, you're Southern. You're just like me. We're Southern gentlemen, bro. Like, we don't, we're just good people. And it's really, I just want you to know that I'm vouching for all the fans. Every bit of hate you're getting is jealousy. It really is, man. You do a fantastic job.
And the thing is it's not my career. I don't come from a background of doing anything like this. So everything you see is very raw, and that's what
makes it good. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not scripted. I have no idea what I'm doing. Taker has no idea what he's doing. We're two buddies that
are having conversations, and that there's no format. That's why it's great. That's why it's great.
And it's, dude, everything that we do, we're on a handshake deal. Like, there is
no
I told
contracts.
Him, bro, we were in a hotel here in Savannah, and we were sitting there just talking, next steps, how's this thing gonna look, all that stuff. And I just looked at him and I said, here's the deal. If we ever discuss money one time, I said, we end it. He goes, okay. And I said, and as soon as you're tired of doing it, we end it. He goes, okay. We're buddies, man. We don't look at it as a business. We see the opportunity, but the people that are hating on me, I don't, we make light of it.
Do you understand it though?
Yeah. Oh, I understand it. I understand.
I mean, like, I just verbalized to you, and like, I would be very confident in betting money 90% of the hate is because of that reason. Like, I feel very strongly about that.
I didn't want to be on my whole thing was I didn't even want to be on the show. And there was somebody that commented once that was like, he's just riding the coattails of Undertaker to become famous. And I don't want to be famous. I have zero
Yeah, I don't
desire.
think you've ever mentioned your. I had to do research to figure out who you were to internet stalk you
I
because
don't,
your
so
name is never on anything. Like,
we wanted, there was okay, here's a couple of different things behind the scenes here. We were going to have it where like Undertaker's Instagram pops up under his name, like at the beginning of the show. Mine was going to pop up under his and whoever we were going to have on there. And I was like, well, Mark doesn't need his under his name. Everybody knows who the
yeah,
Undertaker is. They're gonna. That's easy. I don't want people to necessarily know who I am. And then whoever we have on there, I want it to feel more like a Joe Rogan thing, to where we just start out as having a conversation, and we're not
right.
necessarily,
Just
promoting.
promoting, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got you.
So, like, I could have easily have said yes to that, and I would have gotten a bunch of Instagram followers. I
Right.
don't care about that. Second thing was we did we cut up a short one time, and the short's thumbnail was literally my face, like was the thumbnail. And I called the editor, and I was like, dude, nobody's clicking on a short of me. And I was like, and I could care less about being in this. Like, put it Mark's face on there. That's the celebrity in all of this. So, like, I could, if I wanted to ride Mark's coattails, man, I could do it in so many different ways
I
than
understand.
trying to. I fly to Austin once a month. We batch shoot 4 to 6 episodes, stay in a hotel room. Just all the things that come along with just that. I travel enough already. I could have done a million other things. People making negative comments. First of all, if you have the time to sit down and type out a negative comment about somebody that you don't know who they are, you have no idea what their background is, you have no idea what they do in life, because I've got a funny accent, because I suck at being a podcast host when that's not my job. Like, it's if
You know what, man? I really hope I'm gonna make a bunch of shorts out of this and shit, and I really hope that was my whole thing with this interview. I wanted to tell your story, and because I thought about myself, I was like, I never got a chance to go onto a large platform and explain who I really am, so that half of these rumors and comments, if people would just listen to me for a half hour, they would understand like more about me. And even me, I've learned so much. Like, I really thought, and not a bad thing. Like, if I had a fucking big friend like Undertaker that,
yeah,
I really thought you pitched him like, hey, let's do a podcast together. But
yeah.
just the fact that it wasn't you, that's a game changer, and it shuts half the fucking critics down of like, there's no coattail riding. That was Mark's idea.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I don't I'm around a lot of celebrities already, and if anybody listens to the show, they know like Mark will bring up like me eating like at restaurants and stuff. I love to eat. I'm a foodie. That's my favorite thing in the world. The one thing that I do know of going to dinner with celebrities is you are bothered constantly while you're trying to eat. People are coming up to you
Yeah.
in the restaurant. Nobody has boundaries. And I don't want that. I have zero desire of that.
I remember
And
y'all talking about that where you were
yeah,
saying how annoying it could be just being
it-
out with him. Yeah,
and
I get it. Yeah,
bro, I'm the weirdest person in the world, man. I don't want to go to Walmart and have people come up to me and want to have a picture. I
right.
don't want that. I have zero desire to be that guy. And Mark and I actually talked about this in one episode. If I didn't talk, the show would be 4 minutes long. Taker doesn't like talking. That's
Right.
not he's a very quiet person in real life. So pulling stuff out of him,
He has an infectious laugh though, bro.
he
Like,
does.
I'm telling you that, and actually I have a couple friends, and me and Mate actually, I talk to Maven every once in a while. Me and him actually talked about it right before he was leaving to go do y'all's podcast. And it is like, bro, I mean, Taker could talk about paint drying and people would watch that shit.
Yeah.
And he might not believe that, but like, he's a very interesting dude, and a lot of that goes with the way he lived his life for his entire character of kayfabe and all that.
Yep.
People are foaming at the mouth to hear his stories because unlike 99% of wrestlers over the last 20 or 30 years that have done a million shoot interviews, he didn't. So, I mean, I think you guys can go on for as long as you want, and it doesn't matter if you cover all of his matches or not, just talking about his weekly routine or whatever, because it's interesting, and you're the perfect person for that because you're involved with that. You
Well,
know,
I think the other thing is we have a level of trust with each other as well that's a little bit different than if you just had this business co-host that started, that for both of us, this is something that is still new to us, but I think he knows that he can trust this out of me. I'll never mention or bring up a subject that I know that he does not want to talk about. Um,
now, is there certain things that he's told you you can't talk about that's like contractual NDA? Like, is there
if there
WWE
was
stuff?
anything that if there's anything that I feel like is borderline, I usually will text him that week and just
But
be like, hey
obviously,
man,
y'all aren't doing it live either. So, I mean, you can always
yeah,
shout it
yeah,
out. But
we can edit a lot of stuff, but like, there's only been like once or twice that we've said something in the mics where we were both like, let's probably not talk about that. And yeah,
yeah,
let's cut that one. But no, like I just know him. I know him and I know what he wants to talk about and what he doesn't want to talk about. And, and it's not, I think the thing is like, and Conrad does a really good job, but Conrad's very much, this is what we're going to do. Chris Van Fleet, same thing. Bam, 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 bam.
they
Dude,
also have teams of people helping them prepare all that shit,
yeah.
by the way. So,
And Taker and I, dude, we filming on Thursday, and I ain't got a clue what we're gonna film on Thursday.
so let me ask you this, which I think is a really interesting question because you mentioned that y'all don't really care about the money and you're just gonna do it for as long as he feels like doing it. But I mean, you guys are getting good numbers, and the
Yeah,
channel is grow. It grew very quickly, and I think you guys will continue to grow. So, at some point, if not already, with sponsorships and everything, you may get to a point that that could be your full-time job. And I
yeah,
mean, would you ever consider just if it got to that point, leaving everything else behind and just having that as a full-time job, or
it'd
maybe
be
you
the
don't want to
hardest.
answer that because of the company. I don't know.
No,
Like,
I mean that's something that I toy with constantly in my head. Um, right now, Nine Line's been like I used to sleep in my car because we didn't have enough money for hotel rooms at Nine
so
Line.
they're like family to you. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it would be hard for me to walk away from that line.
right.
Now, it would be if the podcast has become something that is even just a little bit bigger than what it is right now, um it could easily be my full-time job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I will say this, I would never not do something with Nine Line. It could be I go to Nine Line and say, I want to continue to. So, all the haters that hate me, I do so much charity work. I'm so passionate about doing charity work for our veterans. I would continue to do that stuff and I would continue to do the trade shows. I love going to trade shows. To this day, I go to trade shows and I build our trade show booth myself. Like I put it together, I do the forwards, everything. And everyone there is always like, I can't believe you're still building these trade show booths. And I love doing it for some reason.
I do
And
too, man. But I guess my thing, what my fear as you would be, if you quit your job, but you still, let's say, we're doing stuff with Nine Lives, and then 3 years from now, Taker is like, I just really
yeah,
want to be done. Um, I mean, could you see yourself being like I hate to compare it, but like a Conrad type person, where maybe since you said you know so many famous people.
so you're the 50th person that's told me this. They were like, everyone's pretty much told me, they said, man, if you do this consistently for like 2 years, they said you will figure out how to be like a really good podcast
Yeah,
host
for
and
sure.
you could do this. So I would do one of two things. I would do something kind of like what Conrad, or actually one of three things, something like what Conrad's doing, where it would just be guys that I like. That, hey, I'll be your co-host for your podcast. Um, I would do my own podcast maybe, and have
About
people
what?
on. What's that?
What kind of podcast would you want for yourself?
Kind of like what you're doing, people that I'm interested in,
Gotcha.
sports, because I'm a huge sports guy. Food, dude, I could interview like every chef and be just like the happiest person in the world.
Hold
And
on a
then,
second. So you like to, because I'm struggling here to decide about like what your interests are, because since you had never considered yourself a part of the Undertaker podcast, now that you've seen success and you're having fun with the content creation, has that now motivated you to want to make more content? Because you're like me, I have no interest in being famous. And dude,
yeah,
I'm not nearly as famous as the Undertaker, let's be clear. But like I can't leave my house without taking at least one picture. You know,
yeah,
cause, especially in Charlotte, because like we don't have, and I don't know about Texas, but like Charlotte, we don't have a lot of people from Charlotte that's on TV. So like people just, I think like psychosomatically just look for me when they're out, because they know there's a good chance they might run into me. But I've told like producers and my bosses at the network, the executives before, like if I could do TV and not be famous, I'd be cool with that. I'm not in it for the fame. I like the
yeah.
content creation. So, is that kind of changed your mind with it, or did you always think that you would like to do something in front of a camera?
I look at our podcast as a 3 to 5 year project, and I look at it as if this is something that we can make uber successful over the next 3 years, I think it's something that will last for as long as Taker wants to do it at that point. I've made
Absolutely.
it
Well,
as
then you got a back catalog too of videos that even after y'all are done, it's still.
we're making money off of it.
What is something that you can share that, since you are a friend with Mark Calaway, that you think people would be surprised to know about him?
People would be surprised to know about him.
And I don't mean like some weird tick, or I just mean like, something that you don't think has been conveyed to the public very well. A good attribute, like you said, the story about he'll always sign kids' autographs, or whatever. But just like something about him that you think that you would want people to know about your friend. You know what I mean? Because he is your friend. So if you were describing him to somebody that didn't really know who he was, but what is something that, like, if you had to sum up Mark Calaway, and like you had only, like, you're a salesman, you got a 30-second pitch to
Yeah.
tell somebody how great this guy is, what would you say about him?
I think that something that people may be surprised is how well he treats strangers. So he treats like, wait staff at restaurants, people behind the counter at the gas station, people just that walk up to him. He treats them with such kindness and such patience that it bothers me to where I'm just like, we gotta go. It's like, we gotta get in the truck. We're running behind, brother. Like, you gotta be somewhere. And you're explaining how a Hell in a Cell works to this person. It's like, we gotta go.
Right.
Like, he's so
Yeah.
nice that it's almost
It's
like
easily taken advantage of by the wrong people, I'm sure.
it
Like,
can be,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
But uh, even in his worst time, so here's a great story about him. He comes into Savannah for a charity event. It's probably a year or two ago. He comes in and he has to leave a day early. And we do about a 3-day event here. And he needs to leave a day early for his daughter's volleyball game. So I'm driving him to the airport. We get to the airport. There's a massive storm coming through Texas. His flight is canceled. There's no flights getting him near Austin at all on that day. So I don't care who you are, man. You can be just regular Joe. You can be the Undertaker. You can be anybody. The airport sucks. Nobody likes going to the airport. Nobody walks inside of an airport and goes, "Oh, this is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love being here."
Gives
So
me anxiety. Yeah, like
exactly. So first of all, he's already at the airport, which nobody likes. His
and
flight
he's
got
a
canceled.
major star in 6'10", and yeah, like
All eyes are looking at him, and his flight got canceled. You've had a flight get canceled, I would imagine.
absolutely,
It's
yeah.
not. It's aggravating.
Oh my
Now you
God,
got to
yeah.
figure out, do I get on another flight? Especially when you have an obligation to get to, right? And
Right.
it's like, how do I get another flight? Do I rent a car? What do I do here? So a lot of decisions need to be made in a quick amount of time. So I'm standing in the airport with him, and I knew the security guy at the airport. I had the car right out front. He was like, "You boys go ahead. You're fine." So we go in, car's still waiting out front. And I realize everybody has figured out that the Undertaker's inside the airport. And he ain't happy
Yeah.
because of everything else.
Right, right,
So
right.
I'm thinking, if these people, if everybody in this airport starts coming to him right now, he's going to say something he shouldn't say. So I was like, hey, let's go out to the car. Let's go out the truck and let's just sit in the truck and figure this out. He goes, okay. So I get him out there. He doesn't close the door to the truck. He leaves it open. He's halfway out the truck, like on his phone. He's calling the girl from WWE to help him out, everything else. And a guy walks up. And I was like, oh, geez. I was like, this ain't good. I was like, this kid's about to get cussed out. He's like late 20s. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
this isn't going to be good. He comes walking up the truck, and Taker just kind of looks up. And he's like, hey, how you doing? He's pissed. And the kid's like, hey, I just want to let you know, man, you're my hero. Huge fan. You got me through a lot of hard times, and I just wanted to come over and shake your hand. Taker's like, just in the moment, there's like, man, I really appreciate that. He goes, where are you heading? Kid goes, heading home, man. Goes, just got home from deployment with the Ranger Battalion here in town, and so I'm gonna go home see my family, and go see him for the holidays and stuff. And in that moment, Taker takes his phone, sits it down, gets out of the truck, shakes the guy's hand again, says, man, I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done for this country. And I really appreciate you. And he looked at the kid and he goes, you want a picture? And the guy goes, yeah, I'd love one. And it was funny because Mark was off the curb and the guy was on the sidewalk. So he's got about 3-4 inches up, right? Taker's like, hold on, I got to stand up here beside you. He said, people aren't going to believe that I'm really 6'10" if I'm standing down here. And he goes, and you're pretty short. So in the
Love
worst
it.
moment of
Yeah.
like the thing that pisses us all off, changing plans, flights
Oh
getting
God,
canceled,
yeah.
all
Yeah,
those things that just irritate you and make you snap at the littlest thing.
yeah.
He put his phone down, took his time for 3 or 4 minutes,
Service, showed respect. Yeah.
and made that guy's
Fucking week, month, year. Yeah.
life, whatever, and put a smile on his face in the worst moment of like anybody's worst moment, you know. And I think that his kindness is the thing that I think is the most surprising because he's the minister of darkness. You know, he's the guy
Yeah.
that dug all these graves. He put Ultimate Warrior in a casket, and he put Stephanie McMahon on a symbol and sacrificed her. And so his kindness, I think, is the part that I think is the most surprising. His kindness. I've only seen him one time, tell somebody, all right. And we were in Las Vegas at Chacho, and a young lady comes up. We're sitting at a 3-card poker table. Some friends of mine were kind of around us, And me and him are just sitting there playing poker, and we're kind of turned to the side, just talking. And and a couple of people came up wanting pictures, and this lady comes up that don't know who she is, just a person walking through the casino, comes up and goes, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And he's like, "Sure, absolutely." Stands up, take a picture, and she like put her hand a little too low
Oh,
on his back, and he stepped away, looked at her, and said, "Ma'am," said, "you will not do that. Put your arms to your side." He goes, "I'm a married man,
yeah.
and I don't play that game."
Wow.
And that was so. Other than that, I mean, people just get excited. They'll
Mhm.
come up. You'll have people, "Hey, are you that wrestler?" And then he's like, "No, I get that a lot."
I say the same shit. Yeah, I do that to people all the time.
He'll
Yeah,
mess with
yeah,
people, but for the most part, man, most of the people that are coming up to him, they're just a fan. They're excited. You know how it is, man. That's probably the only time in your life that you're ever going to be in front of that person.
right.
That's the only time you're ever going to have that opportunity. And a lot of times, Taker will look at him and go, "Calm down. It's good." He goes, "Let's take a picture. We're fine."
Yeah.
We did walk through the Cosmo one night. We went to a boxing match. We're walking through the Cosmo. He wants to go play blackjack. We get done with the boxing match, go to play blackjack, and dude, swarms of people. It was like bees just started coming at him. And he looked down. He goes, "Let's go. Let's just go up to the suite." I was like, "Okay." And I had like my brother, the owner of Nine Line, another buddy of ours. All them, they were there, and I was like, "Hey guys, we're going to the suite." They go, "Okay, we're gonna stop, grab a bunch of beer, and we'll come up." You know how Vegas is, man. It's like banks of elevators inside Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So we have banks of elevators, and he walks up to the wrong bank of elevators to get to his room, and there was a bridesmaids like party, what a bachelorette party going on,
With like
and,
the penis lollipops and shit. Yeah, yeah.
they're got the sashes and all this stuff, right? Dude, we just got back from being in a green room with like Al Davis's son, with a bunch of basketball players, Floyd Mayweather, all this stuff, right? And now we're stuck with a bachelorette party that
Drunk as hell.
one person has noticed who he is out of the entire party. So now the bride's got to get her picture, the whole group.
Oh
And
my
Taker's
god.
just like, "We got to get out of here." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Sorry guys." I said, "Dude, it's like midnight." And I was like, "Hey, we've got to go. He's got a meeting that he's got to get to up at the suite."
So
And
you can
everybody's like,
try to save him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Yeah,
So
dude,
he's not being an asshole. Right, right, right,
it's
right.
midnight. There's no meeting happening." It's like, people believe anything. So
Yeah, yeah,
like we
yeah,
got out of the
yeah.
elevator, got him out of there, got up to the suite,
I
smoked
mean, like
cigars.
honestly, can't have you ever been with him and him not get recognized? Like
No,
ever? Yeah, I was
no.
gonna say, I mean, number one, because he's so freaking big, but I mean he was in our living rooms for 30 years, bro.
Yeah,
Like that. I mean, I'm one
it's
of those people I can see somebody famous and my friend and I will and I'll be like, that's not them. And he'll be like, I promise you. And he's right. But with somebody like Taker, because of his height,
yeah.
it's you won't convince yourself it's not them because that's just such a large height difference. You know what I mean? So
And there's levels, right, in the sense of people recognizing him. Like there's times where it's a swarm of bees where everybody in the place starts running after him, and it's like, okay, we just gotta get out of here. And then you'll have places where he'll walk through and people are just like, they'll just nod at him, like, ah, yeah, or they'll just throw up a fist to him or something like that. Um, yeah, he gets recognized no matter where
man,
we go.
I'll tell you a story. When I was at Ric Flair's last match, I was sitting like third row back from the ring, and Taker came in only for Flair's match.
Yeah,
So I looked across and I saw a couple familiar faces, and I think Kid Rock had come in.
yeah,
And I looked up and Taker and his wife were sitting down and I was like, no fucking way. And I just looked at him for a minute, like, cause I'm gonna be honest, like, I think at this point, Taker to me is a bigger star than Ric Flair. Because he's just I don't know how to describe it. I know Ric Flair's like the greatest wrestler of all time or whatever, but he's old now. Like, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like even Kid Rock, I felt like I was like, oh, that's cool, Kid Rock's here. But when Taker walked in, I was just like, I'm telling you, man, he's got that vibe of like
It's the mystique.
yeah, it's like a Justin Bieber Taylor Swift vibe of you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I'm looking at somebody like the most famous person I've ever seen. Like, you know, it's crazy.
And it's just because he was behind the scenes for so long and just wouldn't allow himself to be out in public like that. And he protected that character for so long that I think it's got us like there's this mystery with him. Like we know
Absolutely.
Ric Flair. Ric Flair is on
Yeah.
social media constantly, and unfortunately, there's a lot of bad videos that get out about Flair,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
he
it's
had a
like,
podcast for a while and
yeah.
he was doing
So there's
commercials.
like
Yeah, I mean,
he will pimp himself out for different companies and brands or
oh yeah, I
whatever.
mean, dude launched a crypto coin like a few months ago. Like he does
Yeah.
any, I
So
feel like he's the guy that never says no if you can get to him. Like you got a
so
business idea, he does it.
versus Taker, all he did was say no. And I think that's what makes it even more like holy crap, right? Um, but then man, I think the coolest part is the fact that like he's just a nice guy, man. And he's got a small circle. And within that small circle, man, he takes care of his buddies in the sense of like if I want to go to WrestleMania, like I'm in a suite, I've got floor seats, I got whatever, I'm sitting with him. Here's the craziest thing. He might be the only celebrity that has a group of guys that are around him that all the guys are just as well off as
Oh,
him.
okay, I got you. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
bro, um he's got two of his closest friends. One is a big wig with like Georgia Pacific. Like he's like number 2 or 3 in charge of Georgia Pacific. And his other best friend owns a massive dental, like he's a dentist in Nashville. He works on all the country music artists. Those two guys met him while he was in the Memphis territory,
Jesus. Yeah.
and he was living in Nashville. So when they all met, those two guys were playing football for Vanderbilt. The Takers over in Memphis, none of them had any money, and they're all working the doors in Nashville just to try to make a little bit of money. And they all became friends, and there's all three of them are still like best friends to this day.
And all
And
successful in their own right. Yeah.
yes, they're all
So
successful.
okay, so let me get this back to you because like I said, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about it. Dude, love the stories and thank you so much for talking
He's
about
he's,
that.
he's a lot more interesting than me.
Well, yeah, I know, but I think you're interesting. I mean, you've accomplished a lot too. So let me ask you this. What is the episode of the podcast or a moment of the podcast that is your favorite? Like, what is one that you guys put together that you just think is like, even if it didn't get the most views or have the highest engagement, that you're most proud of?
um, I would say
That fold them up like a card table was a good, you know, I'm on a comedy show and we don't have scripts. So for 15 hours, I have to come up with funny one-liners. So I recognize very easily when someone says good lines, and you had a really good comedian that you were going up against that day. I can't remember.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Tony Hinchcliffe, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh, so
you had the funniest line I thought, which was, oh my God, it was that bad tombstone on
yeah, on
the
Coco.
Coco, yeah. And you were like, yeah, you folded on like a cheap card table or something. And I was like, man, that's a funny line.
Yeah.
So is there a moment that stands out to you where you just either feel like, A, you were on your shit that day, like you were just zinging it, or maybe just a moment that Taker expressed that you just felt like was really just good. I don't know how to verbalize it, but just
So
what's your favorite part?
I really loved the the first episode after WrestleMania this year. Um,
After he was in the ring
yeah, so we did
and
an
he kind of said
episode.
he had some closure.
Yep, that was the moment that that's probably my favorite conversation that
You
we
see,
had.
bro, I'm not lying to you. I watched the show, so
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
So, and the reason why that conversation is my favorite personally is because I know the struggle that he was dealing with of not being in the ring.
Well, just from the last ride, I think not nowhere near the level of you do because we're not friends with him. But like, it was nice even for the fans. Let me tell you that because
Yeah.
we all wanted him to get that, and
And that
I
was the
was
thing is like he was truly struggling with, do I get back in the ring and do another match?
right. I'm sure, yeah. And I gotta
And
say, I like that moment, but as a fan on the flip side, I was kind of like, man, he deserves so much better than that.
yeah.
You know,
So
so
him talking about that being that closure and him having some peace, personally, that I was happy because my friend,
you believe him though?
yeah,
Okay.
I do. Yeah. He he wanted to be retired for a long time. And he technically was retired. He technically is retired. But I think that the problem is mentally he didn't have the match that he wanted at the end. And this was so getting that, having that conversation, I think was like, it meant a
It was a
lot. It
moment, and you are a
was a
part of now
moment.
his legacy, right? In the
Yeah.
end of it, at that.
And
So,
that
like,
goes back to the fact of like, I'm not an Undertaker fan. I'm a Mark Calaway fan, and I'm a Mark Calaway friend. I'm not. It's weird. I'm not friends with the Undertaker. The guys that are friends with the Undertaker are Godfather and Maven, and those guys. Those are the guys. Midian and Rikishi. Those are friends with the Undertaker. I'm friends with Mark Calaway,
right,
and Mark Calaway got to have closure with his career that is such a legacy career and such an epic career, maybe the greatest wrestling career of all time. That meant a lot to me. Something that nobody saw and something that nobody else will ever experience was the dinner that we had uh, about 7 or 8 weeks ago when we had Maven in town. We
I
had
saw the pictures. Yeah, it's Chris
dude,
Van Lee
we
and
had Chris Van Fleet, we had
yeah,
Godfather, we had Midian, and we had kind of their crew of like videographers and stuff all at this one dinner. And I look down, and Undertaker and Godfather are talking, and man, they are close, close friends, best friends. And I looked at that and I went, those two guys right there, they met in like 1986, 1988, something like that, in a ring, and they've been friends ever since. And they're just down there chit chatting about life, about their families, about all that stuff. And it was a cool moment. And I could see Mark was just like happy and he was content and he was enjoying that moment and that day, just sitting there with his buddy Godfather. So that,
that's really nice to hear, man. I'm glad he's getting
yeah,
enjoyment.
yeah.
Yeah, he
So for
deserves it, bro.
me, the moment in the podcast I loved, I loved that when he talked about that stuff. I loved the episode with Godfather. I love Maven's episode. Maven's episode to me might be out of the 25 episodes we've done is pound for pound, maybe the best episode we've done.
Interesting. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's good. That's good to know. So, what? Let me ask you. I know you said you can probably get about anybody you want on the show, but if you could just pick one person, who would you like to get on the show the most?
Um, I think the person that would probably pull the biggest
No, no, no,
numbers.
no. Let's forget about numbers. Just you personally. Who would you like to? And I know you said Ric Flair before, but is that the
Yeah.
person?
Um, um, so I would want Ric Flair because of multiple different reasons. It's him and Taker have a lot of history in and outside of the ring. So I think those are some great conversations. I personally think that Ric Flair is the greatest wrestler to ever done it in the ring, on the mic, everything, right? Um, Growing up, the Four Horsemen were, you know, gods in our house. So it's
We were in the same house, brother.
it's sitting there with Ric Flair is just me going back to that living room floor in that single wide trailer with my brother and my dad, watching wrestling together. So yeah, I mean, it's really easy to go, man. Ric Flair is the guy that I would love to sit there and
Well,
it's
maybe can I change the question to non-wrestler because Taker
okay.
can call it. I mean, I bet Taker can get Rock, he can get John Cena, he can get
Yeah.
the biggest of the big. So, like, is there another guest that you just personally? I'm just trying to feel you out, like what you're into, who interests you. You said you kind of like what I do. I interview people that interest me. So, like with Taker's name attached to it, you're right. You can probably get 99% of celebrities. So it's like, who is somebody that you just find very fucking fascinating that you think would make a great show? And I know it's
Uh,
like when somebody asks you, what's your favorite movie? And it's like, man, I got to name you 20 because I can't commit to just one. And if you want to throw out a couple names, that's fine. I mean,
yeah. So I guess it's like categories, right? For me, like,
actors, yeah, or musicians,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So like, I'm a huge football fan, and I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan. So I love Dan Marino.
Okay.
Heard mixed reviews about him, so like I don't know if I want to meet him
Yeah.
or not. But it's like I love Dan Marino, so I'd love to be able to sit down with Dan
Is
Marino.
that the guy from Ace Ventura? I'm not a
Yeah,
football fan. Okay, okay, okay.
yeah, he definitely is. Um, so it's kind of crazy, but like I like I've got a poster of a guy that's right over my shoulder here. They did like a little small documentary about, and his name he's still alive. His name's Baby John DeLutro, and Baby John DeLutro was part of the Gambino family. And he did a little bit of time, in the '90s, and he was part of the Rico stuff and everything else. He's the most interesting person I know. I know a lot of famous people. That's the most interesting man I've ever sat down and had a conversation with. And I would love to like just sit down and have a conversation with him with no holds barred. Like I want him to be willing to like I want to do it like on his
Yeah.
deathbed. Like he's willing to just
Yeah,
say
yeah, 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 yeah.
everything. And it's like that's the person like I want to sit down and have a conversation with is like that guy. I've got a buddy, he's got a little bit of a social media following. His name's Chad Wright. Chad Wright ran for 36 straight hours one time in a loop.
Damn.
What's going on in that head? You know
Forrest
what I
Gump
mean?
shit. Yeah.
Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler is maybe the most interesting man in the world. He's married to Sarah Blakely, who started Spanx. He's a part owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He started NetJet, sold it to Warren Buffett. He helped start Zyco Coconut Water, sold it to Coca-Cola. And his number one like passion in the world is just doing hard stuff. Like he bought a piece of property, built a house on it just because of the hill, and he runs this hill. And whoever can run it the most amount of times over a 24-hour period wins. And you win a shirt.
Oh, that's
And
great.
he,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
and like this dude is a billionaire, and he had a Navy SEAL come live with him for 30 days and made the Navy and told the Navy SEAL, you whatever you want to do, I'm doing it with you. Whatever the workout is, whatever we're doing all day long. He wrote a book about it called Living with a SEAL, one of the most interesting books I've ever read. Like that guy, I want to sit down with him for 6 hours and just talk about life. I want to talk about business. I want to talk about fitness. I want to talk about family. He's a billionaire and
Yeah.
wanted to take his family on a vacation. He went and bought a small RV that he could drive and drove his family around the country one summer.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's some unexpected answers. Yeah, but like I'll tell you, like that one of the most interesting interviews I ever got to do, and unfortunately they wouldn't let me video record it, but I got a little bit. I've never released it. It was before I was on. I got to interview Pablo Escobar's brother. And I have a signed Colombian and American dollar bill from him that's hanging in my house, and I got to go to the house by the airport that Pablo bought that had the secret compartments where he would hide during raids. Like the fireplace opened up, he showed me there was air tanks inside of it. Dude, just going up to the house, like I was nervous. Cameras at the gates just to let me in, and he unfortunately he didn't speak English, but I had a translator with me.
Yeah.
But you know, he went to jail. He was on the FBI's top most wanted list, number 2. Pablo was number 1, but he was the accountant. So I got to talk to him about the stories you've heard about how they used to spend so much money on rubber bands and how rats would eat so much of the money, and how I was like, "What's the most money you've ever seen in your lifetime?" And he said, "I think we had 100 million cash in a room." But I mean, to me, it was like, you know, and Pablo Escobar is a very controversial person, especially in
Yeah.
Colombia, because he did a lot of bad shit and killed a lot of innocent people. But it's the closest person you could get to Pablo, being that he's dead. And this guy did 20 years of time for it. And the stories were, I think I got to talk to him for about an hour and 15. And then another guy came and took me on a tour of, this is one of many houses. And I got to go to Hacienda Nápoles, which was Pablo Escobar's estate with the airport, the zoo, and all the cars were still there that were burned. And I got to visit his grave and the house that he actually got. Well, his brother tells me he committed suicide. That the FBI and Americans will tell you that they shot him on the rooftop. But
Yeah.
so it was such a cool thing because that's history. You know, it's not
Yeah.
it's not a made celebrity. It's like to just put a button on. We've talked about so much, but first let me say it's an honor to be able to think and say that I'm the first guy that had you on since your podcast with Mark Calaway has been so successful. You guys are doing great. You're killing it. Will you say real quick, just for people that might not be familiar, when do you guys post your new episodes? What day, what time, and is it on any other platform than YouTube?
So we have, episodes are dropped on Mondays on YouTube at 11
So Mondays at 11, guys. So what I
a.m.
strongly say is I'm
Eastern,
gonna
I
put the
believe.
link in the description of their podcast page on YouTube, guys. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications so that you get alerted. It is really good content, guys. I will tell you, even if you're not a super big wrestling fan, if you haven't watched wrestling in 20 years, they talk about a lot of stuff besides wrestling. It's not, there's not been one bad episode that I was bored.
And
Also,
something to piggyback on that, like not talking about wrestling, one of the episodes that we're going to be filming coming up is, and it'll come out over the next 3 or 4 weeks after, we film, we're gonna have a doctor on talking about longevity and talking about like all the injuries that Taker's had and how it's impacted his everyday life and stuff. So if you're just kind of interested in the medical side of things and CTE and just how your body, like how his body got affected by wrestling, which was supposed to be fake. And you can hear about all of his
and I
injuries.
will follow up on that and say if you have not seen The Last Ride, before you watch that podcast episode, go and watch Taker's documentary because it goes in depth with him at doctors about the injuries this man sustained is incredible. Like he said earlier, orbital sockets crushed, knee replacements. I mean, he
Both hips.
deserves every dollar, every amount of respect that the fans have for him because he trashed his body to entertain all of us as kids and adults. And I'm so glad that he is at least healthy enough to live a. I mean, I don't know what kind of pain he's got going on behind the scenes, but he's at least mobile and,
He's
because
in great shape. He wakes up every day, goes to the gym. He's got a
he is
gym
in
right.
good shape. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a gym on his property that he built, and
And that's where you guys film at, right?
we used to. We actually moved off site to a studio that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, and
So yeah, because I heard Hulk Hogan is like turning down a lot of appearances and stuff because he's having a real hard time getting all around, and that's what you don't want to see as fans of a wrestler that you've been a fan of your whole life, is that they're in so bad a shape that they can't even hardly get around. I was shocked to see Hulk Hogan at the RNC, like shocked, because I had just been told a month before that like you can find him at his karaoke bar in Florida sometimes, but there was a video that leaked out, like his son got a DUI.
Yeah.
This was a couple of months ago, and Hogan was like with a walking stick, and I was like, oh my God, man, his body must be really beat up. But anyway, so they got an episode coming out with doctors. That'll be super interesting. And also, guys, I'm gonna put a link for Nine Line Apparel. Guys, you guys know I'm a super duper gun fanatic. They have clothing, gear. They have a really cool glass that I saw that I think I'm gonna order. It's got a 308 bullet going inside of it, and the picture of the famous Trump picture of the assassination attempt. You guys have all kinds of really cool stuff. In fact, I didn't get a chance to look around that much. Any kind of place anybody can find a promo code or anything? Or you guys do any sort of promos?
Yeah, I mean, we've always got a sale going on to start with, but yeah, it's not hard to find a promo code.
Literally, if you go on the website, your first order you get 10% off. So
yeah, right off the rip. Yeah,
is it all American made?
It's made right here in Savannah. The shirts themselves, we have a partnership with Bella Canvas, so we do everything we can to, if it's not American made, it's ethically sourced. So even if it is coming from overseas, it's not going to be coming from slave labor. So we do everything we can to make sure that we are ethically sourcing all the materials, all the products, everything. We do take a lot of pride in that. But you know, the other part is we also have our 9 Line Foundation. So we build tiny homes for homeless veterans. We've built 5 fully handicapped accessible homes for disabled veterans. We've given away probably $5 million over the last 10 years to other organizations that help out first responders, veterans, you know, everything up, you know, disaster relief in certain areas, everything, man.
And this is owned and operated by vets, right?
By one person, Tyler Merritt, who was part of the 160th Special Operations Group. The 160th is very famous for the mission to capture/kill bin Laden. And so the helicopter, one of the helicopters that went down that they had to kind of destroy and everything.
I remember, yeah.
Those were 160th helicopters. So they are the Night Stalkers. They are the special forces of the air for the United States Army. So if you are a Navy SEAL, Ranger, any recon, any big time special operations person, Green Beret, the only helicopter you'll ever get on is a 160th helicopter.
Wow. Okay, so this is even much more than I thought it was. So guys, you're supporting a great cause if you buy anything from them, and more than that, they've got really cool shit that, like, trust me, if you're into that type of stuff, like I'm definitely gonna place an order here probably today or tomorrow, because I already saw like 2 or 3 things just in the 10 minutes I glanced around that I want to get. So the link will be in the description for that, guys. Hey man, Matt, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been an honor, pleasure. I'm really excited. I was so excited to get to have this conversation with you anyway, but after getting to talk with you and finding out that we both grew up in the same place and grew up under the same set of ethics and was kind of raised in the same culture, man. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you, and I hope that y'all's podcast is nothing but more and more successful than you already have been.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to, you know, come on here and talk about one of my best friends, The Undertaker, and be able to talk about him and our podcast and our relationship and how that's grown. And for all your viewers out there, more than anything, in a time where the world seems like it's falling apart, the best thing that you can do is just be nice. Be nice to people. That's Absolutely. All you can. Just all be
right,
nice.
Guys. So make sure to leave comments and like and follow them over on their YouTube page. And until the next one, guys, appreciate you tuning in.